Have you ever looked at your own backyard and wondered what it would feel like to be the size of an ant? That's the question Honey, I Shrunk the Kids asked back in 1989, turning blades of grass into jungles and garden hoses into raging rivers. Underneath the giant bugs, though, this was really a story about two families pulling together the moment their kids go missing, and a father terrified he'd destroyed everything with his own invention. Here's the thing. Some of the people who brought that backyard to life didn't get a happy ending once the cameras stopped rolling. One of them didn't even make it to 40. Another walked away from a hugely successful career for a reason you'd never guess. Keep watching, because by the end you'll know exactly who. Number 1, we have Rick Moranis. He played Wayne Szalinski, the frazzled inventor whose shrink ray turns an ordinary afternoon into total chaos. Moranis was 36 during filming, already one of the biggest comedy names on the planet thanks to Ghostbusters and Spaceballs. In 1986, he married costume designer Ann Belsky, and 5 years later, she passed away from breast cancer. Moranis suddenly found himself a single father to their 2 young kids, and instead of chasing more leading roles, he chose to step back from Hollywood almost completely so he could raise them himself. He's always brushed off calling it a retirement, more like a long pause. He's 73 now, and after years of only the occasional voice role, he's finally circling back to the big screen. Number 2, we have Matt Frewer. He took on Russ Thompson Sr., the sports-obsessed neighbor who spends half the movie yelling across the fence. Frewer was 41 during filming, but by then he'd already made his name playing Max Headroom, the glitchy TV host that made him a household face in the 80s. Taking on a totally ordinary suburban dad was his chance to prove he could do more than just one strange character, and it worked. He married English actress Amanda Hillwood back in 1984, and the two are still married today. Frewer kept working steadily for decades afterward, popping up in everything from The Stand to Watchmen to Orphan Black. He's 68 now, and still shows up on screen every so often. Number 3, we have Christine Sutherland. She played Mae Thompson, the steady, worried mom trying to hold her family together while the search for the kids drags on. She was 34 when the film came out, coming off a career mostly built on New York theater. She married actor John Pankow, who you might know from Mad About You, back in 1986, and they're still together. Her biggest role came years later as Joyce Summers, Buffy's mother on Buffy the Vampire Slayer, and her character's death in the episode called The Body is still talked about as one of the most powerful hours in 90s television. Once that arc wrapped, she took a year off and moved to Italy with her family to study photography, eventually building a second career behind the camera. She's 71 now, and Buffy fans still track her down at conventions. Number 4, we have Thomas Wilson Brown. He played little Russ Thompson, the teenager torn between his father's expectations and his crush on the girl next door. He was only 16 during filming, but this wasn't his first time on a big set. He'd already worked alongside Kevin Costner in Silverado a few years earlier, since he grew up on a real cattle ranch and genuinely knew how to ride a horse. As an adult, he moved behind the camera, becoming a writer, director, and producer through his own production company, keeping his personal life mostly out of the spotlight. He's 53 now, and every so often he reunites with old castmates for anniversary interviews. Number 5, we have Amy O'Neill. She played Amy Szalinski, the popular teenager mortified by her father's inventions, and she insisted on doing plenty of her own stunts, including the scenes riding the mechanical bee. She was 17 when the movie came out. After reprising the role in the sequel, she kept getting offered adult parts that required nudity, and she wasn't interested in going that route, so she walked away from acting completely in the mid-90s. From there she found something nobody could have predicted. She became a professional stilt walker and circus performer, touring the world with a trio called Girls on Stilts. She's 55 now, still very much part of the performance art scene in Los Angeles. Number 6, we have Jared Rushton. He played Ron Thompson, the nervous younger brother who spends most of the movie panicking about giant bugs. Rushton was 15 during filming, and he was already a familiar face, having played Tom Hanks's best friend in Big the year before. Rather than fight to stay relevant with such a specific look as a grown-up actor, he simply stepped away from the business around 2000 and became a musician instead. These days he plays guitar and keyboard in touring bands, keeping his personal life almost entirely private. He's around 52 now. Number 7, we have Robert Oliveri. He played Nick Szalinski, the curious little brother who nearly gets eaten in a bowl of cereal. He was just 11 when he landed the part, and he went on to play Kevin in Edward Scissorhands not long after. His face kept showing up for years after he'd already quit acting, since old footage of him played inside a Disney theme park attraction called Honey, I Shrunk the Audience for almost 2 decades. He retired from acting as a teenager, finished college, and now lives a quiet, private life in Florida. He's around 48 now, almost entirely out of the public eye. Number 8, we have Mark the 50th, Taylor. He played Don Forrester, the snobby one-upping neighbor across the yard. He was 38 during filming and had already built a steady career on shows like MASH. He's been married to his wife Judy for decades, with 2 sons together. Taylor kept working for years afterward, both in front of the camera and behind the microphone, lending his voice to a long list of cartoons, and even popping up years later in Disney's High School Musical 2. He's 75 now, still a familiar face to fans of 80s and 90s family films. Number 9, we have Kimmy Robertson. She played Gloria Forrester, Don's equally status-obsessed wife. She was 34 at the time, and she'd actually started her career as a ballet dancer before acting ever crossed her mind. Casting directors once worried her high, squeaky voice would work against her, but the very next year that same voice helped land her the role that defined her career, playing Lucy Moran on David Lynch's Twin Peaks. She also lent her voice to Feather Duster in Disney's Beauty and the Beast, so plenty of people have heard her without ever realizing it. She's 71 now, and Twin Peaks fans still recognize that voice instantly at conventions. Number 10, we have Carl Steven, who played Tommy Purvis, the oblivious kid mowing the lawn in the film's most nerve-wracking scene. He was 14 during filming, already known as the voice of young Fred Jones on A Pup Named Scooby-Doo. His path after that took a hard turn. Following tonsil surgery, he developed an addiction to pain medication that spiraled into heroin use, and he was later arrested for armed robbery. He was sentenced to 13 years in prison, and in July of 2011, at just 36, he died there from an overdose. It's a genuinely sad ending for someone so many kids grew up watching. Number 11, we have Lou Qutel. He played Dr. Brainerd, the one person at the science conference who actually believed in Wayne's invention. He was 58 during filming, already a Broadway veteran with a long list of credits. Qutel kept working well into his 80s, and he ended up landing one of the most quoted single scenes in sitcom history, playing the man with a Seinfeld vanity plate that read Ass Man. He leaned into that nickname for the rest of his life and clearly loved every second of it. He passed away in November of 2021 at the age of 91, having spent basically his whole life doing what he loved. Number 12, we have Marcia Strassman. She played Diane Selinsky, Wayne's practical, level-headed wife who keeps the family grounded while everything falls apart around them. She was 41 during filming, already a familiar face in the 70s playing Julie on Welcome Back, Kotter. She married director Robert Collector in 1984, and the two divorced that same year this movie came out. In 2007, she was diagnosed with advanced breast cancer, and she kept working and stayed active with the Screen Actors Guild even while going through treatment. She passed away in October of 2014 at the age of 66, and she's still remembered fondly by fans and former co-stars. So there you have it, 12 backyard adventurers with 12 completely different lives once the cameras stopped rolling. If you could shrink down and relive one scene from this movie, which one would you pick? Let me know in the comments, and if you liked this one, go ahead and subscribe for more.